Hello folks, and welcome to a new Trainer Fergie video. So in this video we're going to look at all the buffs and nerfs that are coming into the game tomorrow with the Halloween festival. So we're going to just get straight into it and take you through it. So first up we have PIKACHU, whose thunder damage has been increased and his Volt Tackle damage has also been increased. So Volt Tackle has already been used from time to time in the meta, so it'll be interesting to see if his burst becomes even more explosive. So next we have SLOWBRO, whose amnesia cooldown has been decreased and his HP gained will be increased. So this will have to be taken over telekinesis, which is also very useful at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see if this comes into the meta. Next we have Gengar, and after level 5, when you deal special damage, you will recover your health based on damage inflicted. I don't think that this is a major buff, but it could bring him into the meta a little bit more by allowing him to stay alive for a little longer. But I feel the main issue is around his moves and what he does in between them coming back off cooldown. So a bit of a Gengar rework would be better. So next is the big one. So Garchomp is getting a basic attack speed increase, which could be huge because Garchomp already destroys the objective Pokemon such as Zapdos, Drednaw and Rotom. So the increase to this could just make it that he absolutely obliterates them in no time, and you could see some crazy comps with Garchomp. His Dragon Rush damage is also getting a buff, so it'll be interesting to see if he's more viable in team fights, and if Gible and Gabite are both stronger in the early game. So now on to the nerf list, and there's probably a load of Lucario mains crying their eyes out, because his attack stat has been reduced, and normally that means that the Pokemon is getting pushed out of the meta, or at least isn't as dominant in the meta. So Lucario going from being on nearly every team to potentially not seeing too many of them might be what's coming. So another big nerf to Lucario is the Steadfast ability, which is his passive, and the frequency in which it'll activate has been lowered, so he will be more squishy and easier to get the KO on. As well as that, his Aura Cannon bug has been fixed, which will no longer have increased damage when it's used after Power Up Punch. So all in all, Lucario is getting hit with a pretty big nerf, and I feel like he will drop out of the meta, or at least not be in it to the extent he currently is. So next on the nerf list is VENUSAUR, and VENUSAUR is getting a bit of a nerf and a buff, but the reason it's on the nerf list is because Giga Drain and Petal Dance are so strong, and the Giga Drain HP recovery is getting decreased, which means that it's just going to fall out of the meta a little bit, I think. Whereas Solar Beam is getting a damage increase, so it's getting a buff to try and make that build a little more viable. It was good for sniping, and we'll see if it maybe comes in the meta a little bit, and how harshly Giga Drain gets nerfed will depend on what happens with the Petal Dance build. So the last Pokemon on the nerf list is Blastoise, and similar to VENUSAUR, he's had some nerfs and some buffs, but I feel like the nerfs outweigh the buffs. Hydro Pump damage is being decreased, and so is the Hydro Typhoon damage. I feel like Hydro Pump maybe didn't need the damage decreased, but Hydro Typhoon definitely did. It was such a strong Unite move. It already is really good because of the crowd control, but on top of that, the damage it does is just so powerful. Water Spout cooldown is being decreased, which is giving it a buff, and I think they're trying to push that build a little more. So I don't feel that Blastoise will fall out of the meta. I feel that his crowd control is very useful and he's a very good defender. So now we get to the bosses. So Rotom is getting a buff, which is great to see because I feel like even though it's good to get Rotom, he's often ignored for the Drednaw buff. So when you get the KO on Rotom, it will increase your movement speed, HP and attack when moving toward a goal, which makes it a lot more likely to score and will also give your team a massive advantage in any team fights. It also increases the time a goal area is broken after Rotom activates it. I think this will lead to a lot of really interesting team fights, and I'm looking forward to this change as I think it will shake up the meta a little bit. Now on to the boss nerfs. So Drednaw has been nerfed and it is reducing the amount of shield and experience gained after a KO. So it'll be interesting to see whether teams choose to go after Rotom or Drednaw and which one becomes the meta. Because Drednaw just gave you such a buff before that you had to go for it. Full teams rotated to 5, leaving people top to score all they wanted because of the importance of the Drednaw buff. So now with Rotom being so much stronger, it'll be interesting to see which one people pick and if it just is a team split or one team dominates one area. Next up is the big guy himself, Zapdos. So Zapdos has been nerfed, and this is something that people have talked about for a long time, but people started to kind of accept Zapdos as part of the game recently, and I feel like now it's being nerfed, it'll be strange, and I'm not too sure what way it'll pan out, but I do feel like it is for the best, because there's nothing worse than dominating a game really heavily, and then losing a Zapdos and losing regardless. I feel like games will still be swayed heavily by Zapdos, even with this reduced energy. Teams often have big team fights towards Zapdos at the end, lots of energy spilt, and with that energy, you can just run down the other end and score if you win the team fight and take Zapdos. So, folks, that is the full list of buffs and nerfs that are coming into the game tomorrow. I'm looking forward to playing the new character greeting and getting involved in the Halloween festival and playing the new meta, most importantly. I'm really excited to see how it's all going to pan out. If you're interested in watching any content, I will be putting out as much content as I can regarding it. Please feel free to subscribe, and I hope to see you soon. Fergie out.